First of all, what was your reaction to this interview with an NHS doctor last night on this show?
Well, let me first of all say that it's necessary to clear quite a lot of things up, because we've heard quite a lot of hogwash in the last few minutes. Firstly, your guest last night is a member of an extremist organization, Hizb ut-Tahrir, which is banned in many countries, including in European countries. And it's also banned in many Muslim countries. It's banned in Pakistan, it's banned in Egypt, and that's because these Muslim governments recognize that it is an extremist group that has a revolutionary ideology that wants to replace government in Muslim countries as well as in... do you know Germany?
One European country is banned in, Douglas Murray. I'm not going to let you lie to the audience like you usually do. You're going to justify everything you say on this show, Douglas Murray. Right, so please, give me one country
Germany.
It's not banned in Germany.
I just said
it's not banned in Germany.
You're not listening. You're not listening. You're not listening.
To the audience, Google it for yourself. You know, Hizb ut-Tahrir Germany, really are they banned as an organization?
Is this Mr. Al-Andalusi? Can I just check? Because I can't see you.
It is, yeah.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a guy, he's of no significance, but he's a guy who I have seen in studios for years, spouting extreme Islamist rhetoric. Many years ago, he couldn't condemn the killing of the journalists at Charlie Hebdo. Last year, he wouldn't condemn the attempted murder of Salman Rushdie. Now he can't do this. He fails every single test. But let me get on to the question. Look, I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to engage in a fun fight with this Islamist. Let me answer the question that Piers put to me before you try to interrupt again.
Only if you don't lie.
Let him answer, please.
First of all,
let him answer, please.
But all right.
First of all, I'm not going to keep being talked over by this Islamist blowhard. Let me speak. First of all, your first guest treated us to the first bit of mouthwash this evening by claiming that the word jihad can mean absolutely anything. Nonsense. When a big bearded member of Hizb ut-Tahrir calls for jihad on the streets of London, then they are not calling for an interpersonal struggle with the nature of the divine. They are calling for violence. And anyone who can't recognize that should be questioned about their own motives. Secondly, we've just been treated to a monologue about casualty figures in Gaza. Where do these figures come from? I'll tell you where they come from. They come from Hamas. It's quite remarkable to me that 2 months after the October the 7th massacre, the Israelis still don't know the precise number of people murdered on October the 7th. There's a reason for that, because it takes time to work out massacres of that scale. One of the striking, you know, I just don't know if either of your guests are going to allow me a word in.
Because you are lying, and even the numbers from Israel, from the IDF, which are not accredited.
No. You will,
these are your
it's
numbers.
Really interesting hearing somebody who presents themselves as a moderate being a spokesperson for Hamas. So let me continue. They are Hamas figures. They are all provided by the ministries of Hamas, which is a prescribed terrorist organization. If you want to reel off Hamas figures, then be my guest, but you are not able to mislead the viewers of Piers' show by quoting Hamas figures at his viewers as if they are holy
I am not
writ.
quoting.
Third,
it's the Euromed.
We've been treated to
it's
this
the
nonsense.
United Nations.
We've been treated.
It's the international community organizations.
Where do you think they get the figures from? Where do you think they get the figures from? Thirdly, I will continue to speak if it kills you. Thirdly, World War II. It is nonsense that what has been happening in Gaza has, as you said in this endless list of fallacies, that there has been more bombing in Gaza, more deaths and destruction in Gaza than during World War II. Do you know anything about World War II?
Almost,
do you know anything about World War II? In Dresden alone, take one German city. The destruction was on a scale totally dissimilar to what's been happening in Gaza.
I'm taking London.
I'm very interested. I'm very interested, and I will, once again, I will finish this point, even if both of these blowhards keep trying to talk over me. I will finish the point I wanted to make.
I'm going to come back to you both. Let me ask Douglas one question. Douglas, specifically about the doctor.
It is very important for your viewers to hear the following definition. The definition of terrorism is the deliberate targeting of innocent civilians. That is what Hamas specializes in. That is what Hamas did
and
on
that's what
October
is happening
the 7th.
in Gaza
now,
also.
Is what Israel is doing terrorism? No, for the following reason. And again, you can lie about this if you want, but do not expect not to be challenged about it. What the IDF is doing is the same manner of war as the British Army, the American Army, and all other armies in the civilized world. They target terrorists like Hamas, and there are civilian casualties. Yes, there are. But it is not the aim of the IDF any more than it is of the British or American armies to target civilians. And anyone who pretends otherwise is lying to the public watching.
Wow, 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 wow. Douglas Murray hitting it right out of the park. Basically telling these Muslimists to shut the freak up and let him answer the questions and stop being interrupted. And I just want to go over a few things at Douglas, because there was a lot of things in that clip. But the biggest thing I want to sort of impress upon you folks out there is when they talk about this word jihad, which the English translation is a struggle. So that's true, but it has context. So for example, like the gentleman was saying, you could have a jihad, you could struggle against a disease if you want to use that context. You could struggle against an addiction from, drugs, heroin, smoking, drinking, gambling. I mean, you could struggle in life, you could struggle, right? So it's the context in which you're using the word. That's what we're talking about. But these two Islamists, these two Muslimists, were being very disingenuous by saying, that guy, was basically the one who wants to overthrow government, Hizb ut-Tahrir, this Islamist group. They're banned even in Muslim countries like they were talking about. Indonesia, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Qatar, Western democracies, in Germany, in Italy, they are banned from those countries because they know that this is a revolutionary group that wants to overthrow the government. But you know what we do here in the West, Western democracies? It's like, let me call up a government here. Yeah, listen, we've got some people over here that want to come over to our Western democracy. Yeah, could you tell us a little bit about them? They say they're from Hizb ut-Tahrir. Oh, in your country they're banned. Oh, I see. Okay, and what was the reason that you banned them in your country? Oh, they're trying to overthrow your government? Oh, that would be a pretty good reason. So they're banned in your country. You kicked them out, right? Okay, all right. Thank you. Click. And then what do? We invite them over to our country in the Western democracy and say, yeah, come on over. Use our freedom of expression, our freedom of religion to overthrow us. Use our own laws to bend us over without any Vaseline and stick it to us. That's what these guys are doing. And we're stupid enough to allow them to come in. Oh, they're looking for asylum because they said they're being persecuted. Well, of course they're being persecuted in their countries because they're trying to overthrow the government in those countries. These are radical revolutionary groups following some type of, I don't know what type of thing they're following. Some caliphate thing or who knows what the hell they're doing. There's nothing revolutionary. I mean, there's nothing. That's just unbelievable. But so when we're talking about the context of struggle, like I said, I could say the same thing. Hey, you know what? I struggled last night because I'm on a diet and I'm trying to lose some weight, but I struggled because I was thinking of eating a 14-inch pizza and dousing it down with a half a gallon of sugary iced tea. But I struggled with myself. Or you could say, yesterday I went into town and it was part of Joe Biden's America. And I almost got carjacked. I had to struggle to keep my car from being taken by a bunch of people. I had to struggle. Well, you fought back. You resisted. Oh, am I the oppressor? Am I the oppressed? It all depends on context. Context, folks. That's what about. These two guys were being disingenuous. And Douglas Murray, as usual, brought their disingenuousness to the forefront and really showed them to be the liars that they basically are. Anyways, let's get to more of Piers and Douglas with this next clip.
Question before I go back to the two in the studio here, and it's specifically about the doctor that was on last night, whether he should be allowed to continue practicing as a GP when he identifies Hamas as a resistance group, wouldn't say that it committed an act of terror, said he didn't even believe that there had been a massacre, and was also quite blatantly homophobic, amongst other things. Well, he didn't actually. Douglas,
but not Douglas.
You say you believe.
Let me ask Douglas.
Said if.
No, please.
Let me ask Douglas.
Douglas, the medical association. The medical association.
I will come both to.
The medical association is the one who is assigned to.
Fine. I'm asking Douglas what his view is.
Douglas. He's not a medical doctor.
I'm asking Douglas's opinion. Douglas.
It's black.
Well, you don't seem to be much of an impartial observer of this, I have to say myself. I thought slightly highly of you before you started ranting as much as Mr. Al-Andalusi this evening. I'll tell you what I thought of it, Piers. I think our country has had enough of people like your guest last night. It's not just that he's in the NHS. Why is he in Britain? Why do we allow people in Britain to try to overthrow the state who praise terrorism?
Exactly.
Members of extremist organizations. What has Britain got from this guy exactly? What benefit have we got from him? I mean, I wouldn't want to be an NHS patient going to him. I don't know if any Jews would particularly want to in Britain.
Absolutely not.
Many innocent people would want to go to this doctor. But my question is not just should he be able to practice. I want to know why our country of Britain has been such a soft touch for decades that we have Hamas leaders, terrorist spokespeople, Islamist sympathizers like your guest, Mr. Al-Andalusi, and now NHS doctors who are members of groups like Hizb ut-Tahrir that stand on the streets of London, call for jihad, call for Muslim armies to arise. I don't think our country benefits anything from these people. I think people like that should leave. We have no need of them.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I was saying, is that the other countries have kicked them out. Shouldn't that tell us something? Shouldn't that tell us something? They're being kicked out from other countries because they want to overthrow those governments. And these countries are basically saying, get out, you are not welcome here. And those countries are probably laughing at the people, us in the West, laughing at Britons, laughing at the British people, the British government, the other Western democracies, the United States, Canada, and saying, those guys are willing to take our terrorists? Oh, please, let's do the trade. We'll even pay for their salaries. I mean, it's unbelievable. Anyways, let's continue.
Murray, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it. Let's come back to you gentlemen to wrap this up. Let me start with you, Dr. Abouleish. Look, passions run high here on both sides. I get that. But there have to be certain points of agreement, don't there? And one of the things that I find very hard to deal with, like I said at the start of this debate, is when people simply won't accept what we all saw with our own eyes because Hamas put it out on their own videos, through their own social media platforms. What happened on October the 7th was a terror attack. Can we not agree that?
I am coming here as a Palestinian.
Yes.
I am not belonging to any faction, and Hamas is not representing the Palestinian people. We have to understand it. It's part of the Palestinian people. It was elected with a free democratic election in 2006. Since that time, we don't
know if that was true or not. We don't know if they were elected free and democratic. This is a terrorist organization given billions of dollars by countries all over the world, including the Biden administration, including the Barack Obama administration. How many billions of dollars, did the Barack Obama administration return to Iran? Remember, flying them over in planes? It wasn't a check that was written, wasn't a deposit to a bank account of the Ayatollah, courtesy of the Bank of Iran. No, it wasn't that, was it? It was delivered in cargo planes, in dollars, in pounds, in lira, in gold, in silver. I mean, there was one of the biggest transfers of wealth to another nation. Why? Oh, because, and then when they asked John Kerry, you think any of it's going to be used to spill blood and treasure of United States citizens? Possibly it might be, but we don't want to think about that right now. We just want to get on the good side of the Iranians. And this is our good faith, what we're doing. So you're telling me that the elections in the Gaza, on the West Bank, where Hamas is prevalent, they're the ones with the guns, they're the ones that are causing terror, they're causing terror amongst the Palestinian people as well, to make them hold the line? And you're trying to say that these were democratically, freely elected? How? Just because you think so? Or somebody told you? It's nuts.
Any election, we look forward to have election, and we have to respect the election of the people and the choice of the people. If you in UK tomorrow to elect any right fanatic group, what do you think the other people will say to you? If they said no, they are terrorists or they are not accepted, they are part of the Palestinian people. Whether we accept or not, we need to have a new leadership, to have a new election, and then it's our choice to do it. What is happening, as I said it clearly, before October 7, after October 7 will never lead to any positive way. It only aggravates bloodshed, more animosity, more pain, more suffering, and more extremism.
I think you may be right. And this has been my concern about the, in my view, increasingly disproportionate response by Israel, is it may have the opposite effect of what they want. It may actually lead to more radicalism. Destroying most of Gaza seems to be what the mission statement is now. I don't see how that helps the situation at all. But I do understand why they want to try and eliminate Hamas. And that's the conundrum.
Well, I'd like to clarify firstly, Islamic law very clearly says, and there's no difference of opinion on this for 1,300 years or even more, that it is impermissible in whatever situation to target women, children, elderly, poor, non-combatants, or those not reservists in an army. So even the Hamas fighters, which were interviewed on Israeli TV, the broadcast was interviewed, or their interview, they said the same thing, that it is prohibited. The issue of October the 7th is that there's a big question mark regarding what exactly happened. I completely accept. Let me finish. What do I mean by this? I completely accept that there was Israelis were killed who were not combatants. It is reprehensible in Islamic law, and likewise, it's reprehensible that non-combatants on the Palestinian side are killed, like, for example, an 8-year-old Mohammed al-Ghul and others in West Bank who were shot by an Israeli soldier. But my point is this, right? And here's the issue, which is Michael Clark, who advises, you might see him on Sky News talking about Ukraine war. He's a military advisor on Channel, and also Channel 4. He said that Hamas, the operation, they actually lost control of the operation, and it turned into a spontaneous terror attack. I'm quoting him verbatim.
I don't believe a word of that.
Well, but this is what he says as an expert.
I'm giving you my opinion.
I know. Well, I'm giving you an expert opinion.
It was clearly planned,
by Michael
orchestrated.
Clark. Well,
and then they gleefully boasted about it.
No, they didn't.
They did.
Where did Hamas? Do you know that quotation?
You see no Hamas people that day gloating about it? Are you watching the videos?
Yes, I did. Did you watch that Hamas spokesman? You quoted that Hamas spokesman on TV. Yeah. Did you see what he said about the attack? He said that there was no order to target civilians. What many people...
we know they did.
A general consensus of analysts have shown that there was looters that came out of Gaza who were not part of Hamas.
So my simple question...
It's criminal.
My simple question is this. Was it a terror attack?
Anyone who killed civilians, should be condemned.
So this guy here is making us lead to believe, Mr. Aladusi Ali, or whatever his name is. This guy basically, I thought he was coming this close to basically saying that, yes, that was a terror attack on October 7th. It was a terrorist attack. I thought he was coming this close to saying it. But then he had to pivot and use the big B word, but. And now he's saying, he's quoting somebody from Sky News, Australia, supposedly a war expert, saying that this was a supposed to be a well-coordinated attack against Israel. Okay, he's accepting that fact, but it sort of got out of hand somehow. And the Hamas, when they're fighters, it wasn't them actually. It was some people from Gaza that came over. It was looters. It was looters that were coming in. They wanted to steal some stuff, you know? They wanted to do those snatch and grabs like they're doing out in California and other places in Democratic controlled cities. You know what I'm talking about? Where a group of people just go in, grab as much stuff as they can, and then bolt outside the door. And that's what these guys were. They weren't Hamas fighters or Hamas terrorists. No, these were Gaza citizens who sort of, came in the back door. They were just trying to be looters. That's what they were doing. Let's hear more stuff from this guy.
It's a terror attack.
Reprehensible. Anyone who kills civilians is a criminal.
Was it a
act.
terror attack?
What?
October the 7th.
And when I asked you, you said, what define a terror attack is that you target
You've
civilians,
had the
right?
definition from Duncan.
Yes, okay, you target civilians, right? So then I want to ask, I'll answer that
No,
question.
just answer
I
the
want to ask that
question.
question, but just for sake of consistency, when the British Army targeted German civilians in World War II, was that a terror attack?
No, because they were responding to Nazi Germany's attempt to destroy the world.
So you're saying
don't
that.
understand the
so you're
moral
saying
difference.
that. So you're saying that.
These people can't understand the difference here. It totally it blows my mind. Trying to equate the bombing of Germany. Hey, you want to end the war. You need to do now. Yes, civilians. Some of them, maybe they weren't on board with the Nazism stuff, but a majority of them certainly were. Did they know everything that was going behind? No, but that's what happens when you elect leaders who lead you down a path to destruction, a path to hell. Was it a terrorist attack when the Americans dropped bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Was that a terrorist attack? A lot of liberals, a lot of progressives, a lot of, leftists, a lot of deniers, a lot of second guessers, a lot of anti-American sentiment are going to basically say, absolutely it was a terror attack. As if America was just sitting back, just sitting back in the 1940s, doing absolutely nothing, America, sitting around, going on picnics, drinking, Coca-Cola, French fries, hamburgers, and apple pie, hot dogs, watching baseball games, football games, enjoying themselves. And then he decided and said, you know what? There's these people over in this island, Japanese people. I think we ought to drop a couple of bombs on them. Let's just terrorize them. That's how people are good. That's how they rewrite history, folks. That's how leftists and liberals, progressives rewrite history. That's what they're doing. This guy's equivocating basically the same thing. That he's postulating the question. It appears. Well, before I answer the question of whether Hamas is a terror group or whether that was a terrorist, a terrorist plot, a terror-inducing event, whatever you want to call it, on October the 7th. Are you willing to call that Hamas, the terrorist group, what they did, an act of terrorism? Oh, no, wait. Can't answer that question. Circles around, trying to say, well, wait a minute. Americans, British, what do you think they did when they were bombing Germany? Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable.
Because of who they were fighting, it's not a terror attack to target civilians.
Are you
is that what you're saying?
We have to wrap this up. I'm asking.
Is that because I only want consistency
I'm
from
saying
you?
there's no moral equivalence between us defending ourselves against Nazi Germany, who committed a Holocaust that killed. In fact, they killed 12 million people.
Did Britain launch war on Germany because of the Jews?
Huh?
Did Britain declare war on Germany for the sake of Jews?
Britain declared war on
Did
Germany.
Winston Churchill, in his
Britain-
ultimatum to
Britain
Hitler, did he
declared-
say, stop persecuting
Britain
Jews?
decla-
Do you know why? Because at that time, anti-Semitism was so rife
Right.
that people didn't care about the plight of the
Really?
Jews. It was only afterwards, after they discovered the death camps and so on and so forth. Don't pretend that the Allies launched this war for the sake of Jews.
I didn't say that.
Anti-Semitism.
We only
was
discovered
He didn't
the
say that.
concentration camps towards the end of the war.
Yeah, I'm
we
only
did it
asking-
we did it to save our democracy and freedom.
And,
Right?
and
But
guess
the
what?
idea is any
And what
moral
are the
equivalence.
Palestinians are
Hang
doing?
on.
What are the
Hang
Palestinians
on.
doing? What do you
Listen,
think the Palestinians are
the
trying to do?
idea is any moral equivalence
Yeah.
is ridiculous. But let me come back one more time before we finish to my simple question. Was what happened on October the 7th a terror attack?
And I'm telling you that if you refuse to
Okay.
call the bombing
Okay.
the bombing of
right, I
Dresden
tried.
as a terror attack,
I tried.
then why?
I've got to leave it there.
Is that not hypocritical?
Dr. Abouleish,
I'm
good to
totally
see you
fine to
again.
call it a terror
I want to
attack
say
if
something.
you're willing to call it a terror
Listen,
attack too.
listen.
Can I say something?
Let's join each other in
Abdullah
condemning both
and
things,
Lucy.
including the IDF as
No.
what they're doing as a terror
I do
attack.
not believe IDF
Then that's
is a
being
terror
hypocritical.
attack. No, it's
that's
not.
being hypocritical.
Okay, that's your view.
I'm happy to
Can I say
condemn
something?
all
That's your
this as a
view.
terror attack.
Yeah, you're not
But
though,
you
are you?
have to
You're
be
not.
consistent.
Please, can I say
Piers
something?
Morgan.
Final
You're
word
being
to you.
inconsistent.
Please.
Final word.
You know, yesterday I was listening to the chief of Mossad and the chief of Shin Bet, and he said it's because of the failure of diplomatic and political issues. This is important, and there was negligence. And what can we do now? And that's the most important as a medical
Yeah.
doctor. We need to stop the bloodshed, to go to serious negotiations, to use it. What happened October 7 as an opportunity to bridge the gap between Palestinians and Israelis and not to repeat it
Okay.
again and again.
Doctor, I've got to end it there.
So,
Thank you. Thank
Wow, wow, wow. What the doctor says to bridge the gap, to tie to come together, that's all fine and good, and that's exactly what needs to happen. But if the initial terrorist attack by Hamas, the terrorist group, didn't happen on October 7th, if innocent women, babies, children, men, whatever if they weren't slaughtered, they weren't killed, folks, they were slaughtered. It was a genocidal attack on about 12, 13, 1,400 people. And as Douglas Murray said before, they don't even know the total death count right now because it's so difficult to identify. So heinous was the attack. But yes, do a ceasefire. Come to the negotiating table. Hamas needs to basically, lay their weapons down, but they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. We know Hamas. They're a terrorist group. They don't care. They don't care. They're using the Gazans and the people on the West Bank as shields, human shields. They don't care how much collateral damage is, as long as it continues to bear pressure on the world and basically cry that river, towards the Palestinians and bring pressure to bear on Israel, okay, as if they're the ones, okay, that it caused this entire thing. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. I've been your host, Dr. Nasser. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow us. Let us know what you think below. Follow our links above and below. And I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.